triathlon and run coaching with our own coach, Katie Malone, today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast. Welcome back, podcast family. We are continuing on. We introduced, this is going to be the third podcast with Coach Katie Malone and Kevin Harrison here co-hosting. A lot of cool things we're doing and putting together to end this year strong, and then to bring you some exciting things for 2024. Jed Blackwell over there running. He's the brains behind this operation.
We are in bad shape.
We're in bad shape. It's all relative on that, but Coach Katie, here we are. We are recording. Now, you will listen to this over in December, but we are recording the day before Thanksgiving. So how are things going in Coach Katie Malone's life today?
I've been pretty busy, not really planning holiday things so much, but just looking forward to 2024 and all the things kind of my team's going to be doing. But in order for us to do them, I have to plan them now. So that's been it's been challenging. I just feel like a little bit overwhelmed. Also have all the Tri-Club, the Greenville multi-sport club. There are a lot of things I want to do with that club next year. So the combination of Malone coaching and the Tri-Club, I feel sufficiently challenged.
So what's going on with your team in 2024? What's a couple of big things going on with your team in 2024?
Well, 2024, I'm going to revisit some things we've done in the past that I thought were really fun and I got good feedback on. We had this one thing where we climbed one significant climb every other week. So I'm bringing that back.
God, that sounds so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And we do it in the winter when it's really cold.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to have all your winter gear, but it sets you up to start the season off like in a really good frame of mind, because after you've been riding in the cold, anything doesn't seem that bad. Like, it doesn't matter what the weather's doing.
Well, the only thing that would make that better is if you could have like a really long swim on the end of that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kevin. Maybe we can add that on.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. So we got the hill climbs going on. So I've got all the maps of those that I want to make sure I have correct. And I added a few new challenge climbs on there. Then we have our swim week, which I believe you might have won one year.
Win.
Yeah. It's the most you swam all year, I think, in 1 week. I don't recommend that to anyone else, but you did it.
You're bringing that back. I thought you canceled that because of me, because I did.
I think because of you and maybe your partner.
Yeah.
I think you both ended up hurt after that, possibly. I don't know.
Because we kept messaging. It was like, well, I think I'm going to get this amount. And it was like, we would always end up with the maximum amount you could do every single day. You did.
So this year I changed the rules a little bit for that, so that hopefully people won't hurt themselves. But it's still a fun challenge, and I love the team aspect of it. Like, I partner each member of our team, like one advanced and one kind of like intermediate or beginner. I try to balance each team so it's fair. And it really, like, you get to know your teammate, like, because I pair the teams. Like, you don't get to pick who your teammate is, because everybody's like, I want my teammate from last year. I'm like, no dice. Because you get to know each other, and it's just like, it's one of the most popular weeks of the year, honestly, for our team is this swim week. And it really started out as something kind of silly. So that's coming back. The Chattanooga Tri-Camp. I have done that, I don't know, now maybe 10 years in a row. That is very popular. I'm going to do a little bit different format this year. We're going to rent a house or two, bring in a private chef.
A private chef.
Yes, because it's hard when you go with a big group to a restaurant. And I think a lot of people have special dietary needs. And that way, if we have a private chef, we all get what we need, and it can be more social. Like, you can interact with the people. When you're in a restaurant, if you're sitting at a table and you're far away from someone else, you can't get up and go sit next to them and talk. Yeah. So I'm going to make it so it's a little bit more team oriented, and, we'll have the houses that we rent. So yeah, it's changing format a little bit, but, of course, lots of riding, swimming, running. We do swim in the river when we go. So, so I mean, those are the main things, but that's lots to organize.
Lots to organize. And Jed, you are an absolute warrior. If you have there's like challenges, and if you have rules changed, that they are thinking about changing the rules because of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I try. My roommates in college used to make me watch Jeopardy looking out the window.
Yeah.
Because I can read faster than they could, and they wouldn't let me read the clues.
So they changed the rules.
Yeah, they changed the rules.
Well, we know I am
the world's
greatest swimmer.
No doubt.
And so it should be no surprise that a swim challenge has been changed and modified because of my swimming prowess.
Maybe we should name it like the Kevin Harrison Swim Challenge next year.
I think that'd be great.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. And then the Greenville Tri Club. So that's kind of, we'll say it's a nonprofit kind of club that we have in Greenville to build community within the sport. It's not people necessarily who I coach, although a lot of people that I coach are in the club. But we start out the year in January and February with a beginner swim class. And that'll be held at the Greenville Recreation Pool. It used to be West Side Aquatics. It's kind of over on the west side of Greenville, but they have a really nice facility. So
now there are people thinking right now, okay, define beginner swim class.
That's a good question. So beginner, if you cannot swim at all, like I will teach you how to float. That's where we start. Now we will have people in the class too who are intermediate and just want like feedback on their stroke, and that's fine too. I will divide the class up, obviously. Usually I have a couple volunteers from the club who come who are good swimmers and good at swim instruction, and so they help with that too, because it makes it more of a team effort. But really, it's just to help people who are in the club build community. It's the money that we make goes back into the club just to support activities that we do, like, we have to rent the lanes and that kind of thing. But it's always been really successful and really fun. So we've got that. And then this year, for the first time, we will have a kids component to the Greenville Triathlon Club. That's probably what I'm most excited about. We will have high school age and younger kids. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly how that's going to look like yet because I'm still working on it.
Yep.
But I think it's just awesome because there's so much interest there and we don't really have a lot of opportunities. So to be able to bring that to the community that's
interesting. Awesome. That is interesting. I may have to bring one of mine out there to that.
Please.
Yeah.
I am definitely bringing mine out there.
Yep. Well, we talked to Keen earlier about his prowess in triathlon and hockey and the other things that he's involved in. So we don't fight in triathlon, though. So
no fighting in triathlon. And honestly, the little kids at hockey, they should not be fighting either. So,
that's probably why most of them get into hockey, because they can fight without getting in trouble.
How are they going to learn?
They bump into each other. I mean, there might be a little shoving, tripping, but there's no fighting, right, Keen? No.
Keen went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
I asked an area athletic director about lacrosse one day. I said, when are you going to add lacrosse? He said, when am I going to let our kids hit other kids with sticks? Never.
Oh.
Said, okay, cool.
Yeah, I guess like hockey and lacrosse seem to cross over a lot.
Yeah.
Or I mean, people think it should.
Well, same skill set, some with the stick handling and the ability to chase down the ball or the puck or whatever it is. But the cross-checking and things like that are it gets a little dicey sometimes.
I don't know much about lacrosse, and hopefully that's not another sport that my child picks up. So we'll just stick with hockey right now. Anyway, so that's everything that I think I've got, and that's pretty much kept me at my desk or just completely occupied trying to figure out how I'm going to make all of that happen and still, see my family and take care of my dogs. So how about you, Kevin?
This is the day before Thanksgiving when we are recording. We're actually recording in my one of my locations in our business, and we're retail. So Black Friday is in 2 days, and it is it's going to be this is the craziest time of the year for us, no doubt, and one of the craziest weeks. But I am I am very proud of I've kind of taken it upon myself as a challenge, because November, and we've talked about this in a previous podcast, but November and December traditionally are times for me that my training and the discipline to train kind of goes to it just goes down, because long hours, a lot of things going on. There's just a million different things coming at me during this time. But I have committed I have set a goal where I'm going to, you probably don't like saying that's too high, but I'm going to hit 100% of my workouts, my planned workouts through Christmas. 100%. And as of this week, I am 100%.
Good.
And we're actually turkey trotting tomorrow. A lot of you will.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of you will have listened to this, and you will have participated in a turkey trot as well. But yeah, so things are really busy, but really good. This is, it's just where it is. With retail, you either make it in November and December, or you're in trouble.
That's what I hear. I mean, I walked in and they did ask me if I wanted to start hanging up clothes. I was like, no, I'm just gonna go see Kevin, but I couldn't hardly get to your office because there's so many boxes.
Yep.
So, I can tell things are kind of like hitting another level here, that the energy is kind of high.
They are, and it is so just a lot going on. You've got to really. And everybody deals with this at different seasons of their life, but you really got to prioritize getting the important things done. And I find myself this time of year trying to cut out as much junk as you can, where things that aren't any good for you, just cut those out, because you just don't have time for all those things. The little time suckers is what I try to get rid of. You're taking some vitamin N.
Have you heard that about the vitamin N?
Vitamin N. I need to look. I take all kind of vitamins, so I need to look into vitamin. What's vitamin
N? There's a famous marathoner, and I can't remember which one it is, but he is very big on vitamin N, and it's saying no, vitamin N. He says it's vitamin N. Yeah, you've got it. Vitamin N is number one.
If I have become really good at anything this year, which I am a horrible person with vitamin N. I like the more you can throw at me. And here's the problem: if you don't start taking vitamin N, is if you keep letting people give you stuff, and you keep continually churning it out and making it happen, they will continue to give you more and more and more and more stuff. I've actually done a good job this year of not only saying no to a lot of things, but a pretty good job of actually cutting some of the other things that I've been doing that I've looked at and was like, you know what? That's not real high on my priority list. And cutting those things out. So, yeah, vitamin N.
Isn't that a great one? Vitamin N.
I do like that.
I got to take my vitamin N. Excuse me.
I'm going to be saying that to people all the time. I was like, nope, took my vitamin N this morning. They're like, what? What are you telling me?
Exactly.
Listen to the podcast.
But it's also easy. Like, it's just kind of like a nice thing to say to yourself to stop yourself from saying yes.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm all about vitamin N, but I'm also not very good at that.
So, a lot of things going on. Any races or things coming up that are big that people, not only locally but just around, anything out there. And we have some marathons and half marathons coming up.
I feel like everybody in Greenville is going to Kiowa in the middle of December for either the marathon or the half marathon.
Yep. Flat and fast.
I'm pretty sure. Well, it's flat, it's fast. And it's really nice. I mean, to stay at the sanctuary at Christmas time, yes, please, sign me up. It's easy. It's like a nice thing to do. So it doesn't take a lot of convincing to go to Kiowa at Christmas or, before the craziness of the season really happens. And you roll into Christmas in really good shape. Yep. So, I mean, it's kind of a win-win.
Well, while they're at beautiful Kiowa, I'll be doing all of my long runs that will be coming over the next few weeks at a local high school or out on the Swamp Rabbit Trails. I'll be thinking about the beauty of Kiowa Island while I'm running around in the cold darkness.
But but I have to remind you that you sign up for this race every year after Christmas. And it's what's it called? The Dopey?
Dopey Challenge.
All right. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, what is that, Kevin?
That is Thursday you run a 5K. Friday you run, it's 4 races. It's Walt Disney World Marathon weekend. It's usually the second weekend of January, but it is Thursday you run a 5K, Friday you run a 10K, Saturday you run a half marathon, and then Sunday you culminate that with the full marathon. And if you do all those, they give you 6 big shiny medals, and then you are Dopey Challenge. And I am not only doing the Dopey Challenge, but I am what they call a perfect Dopey. And the perfect Dopies are the ones who've done every single Dopey Challenge there has been since they've been in existence. So
Wow.
this is coming up on number 12. So this will be 12 in a row. And it's interesting now. You're kind of in this attrition game because there's a real limited number of us perfects left. And so every year it's like, you're not wishing bad things for people, but you're like, okay, how many are going to drop out this time? And
do you get a shirt that says like, I'm perfect?
You do. Last year we got a hat and some other things. I mean, now,
how many people have done all of those?
I think it's somewhere around, it's 300. It's in that 300 range now that have done them all. Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
And it dropped dramatically when they had the 10-year anniversary. It dropped dramatically, but now it's kind of I just kind of envision myself at like 85 years old and me and one other dude or one other lady that are like the 2 remaining that are left, and we're out there in I've got my walker and I'm trying to go as hard as I can to maintain a 16-minute mile. But I mean, hey, it's one of those things I do.
It is. It's very Kevin-esque because most people do it once and they learn their lesson.
Yep.
But you keep going back again and again.
All gas, no brakes.
It's something else.
All right. I don't know why that would dawn on anybody to do once.
So
let's 12 times.
Yeah. So let's rein this thing in.
Okay.
And talking about some advice and how do people, a lot of people are out there, they've run before and they've, I ran when I was in high school a little bit and I've recreationally ran a little bit and maybe they're thinking about being, hey, I'd like to try a half marathon. I'd like to try a marathon, or, hey, you know what? I see this triathlon stuff they talk about. I'd like to try that. Mm-hmm. And usually what happens when people do that is they go online and start just like looking at stuff. And, hey, here's a couch to 5K. Here's couch to half marathon, couch to marathon. Do your first sprint triathlon. And you can like click on it and you may even find a free PDF to download.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at that. So we're going to talk about a different approach. We're going to compare and contrast some of those things. So we're going to talk about triathlon and run coaching, which is obviously something you've done for a long time and have been very successful at. But let's start with how do you determine? So there's different levels of people out there. You got people like we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got some people who have done some of these things. Hey, I did Andy's race, local little triathlon. That's a smaller sprint triathlon. Hey, I did that and I was able to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to get a little bit faster. And I'd like to kind of figure out really what is all. I don't want to just be throwing darts at a wall. I want to bring some purpose to my training. So how do you determine because some people probably think, well, I'm not good enough to really need a coach. How do you determine if you need a run-in or triathlon coach?
I definitely think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not that serious, or, I don't want to be. But I think if there is anything in the back of your mind, like, oh, I could do better, or I could be faster, or I could be a different athlete than I am right now. If there is anything like that in the back of your mind, like to work with someone, it is just an amazing experience. It's an investment in yourself. And I don't always think it's just about the swimming, biking, running. And so many people are like, oh, it's just, I can get the workouts for free online. Sure, you can, but you don't get the guidance. You don't get the feedback. You don't have someone there cheering you on or lifting you up when you've fallen down. Because the one thing I know for sure is we are all going to get derailed. And some people get derailed in the middle of the first week. A lot of people get derailed in the middle of the first week because it's hard. Like it's different. But when you work with a coach, like for me, I can tailor it to fit each person's life and their ability. Like if they're a great swimmer, they can get really hard swim workouts. Like I can give them stuff that's appropriate. But if they've never run before, we can really dial it back and keep them at a beginner level for running. And so that way, when you work with a coach, you get what you need versus some canned generic plan.
So how important is that on this feedback loop? That is one that is, you see the training and most of the thing, like you use Training Peaks, which is for those of you that don't know, it's just a portal where your workouts upload to that. You're able to look at all the data and look at all those things. How important is that piece of the puzzle because if you, and we're going to talk about comparing and contrasting some of these things, but if you're not getting that feedback from someone that's looking and saying, okay, something doesn't look right here. Is there, or do you have a lot of stress in your life right now? Something's amiss right. How important is that piece for the success of athletes?
I think that's probably the most important piece. I mean, the workouts are workouts, and you can get workouts anywhere. But when you have someone looking at what you've done and commenting, hey, I really think you need to focus on this, or, where are you mentally right now? Because that run doesn't look like you followed the workout. Like, were you just zoned out? Are you tired? Are you having a stressful week? What's going on with you? And, like when I ask somebody that, like, I really want the truth. Like, I don't want, oh, no, I'm fine. Well, the data tells me you're not fine, but okay, I'll take that answer today. But next week when I ask this question again, I need a real answer. Yeah. And so it's almost like just having somebody in your life who actually cares about the wholeness, like from your personal life to your training to your work, like putting it all together and helping you be successful and lifting you up. Because let's face it, that is not your wife's job. That's not your best friend's job. That's not even your training partner's job. And so when you have a coach and that is really what their role is in your life, it changes how you show up day to day.
Yeah. And that would be, when you think about these online plans and think, and we're not here to cast aspersions on anything, but kind of compare and contrast. What are the main differences and benefits that you're going to get from having a personal triathlon coach, which is it is a lot more affordable than some may think it is.
Yeah.
What's going to be the main differences and benefits of having a personal triathlon and running coach rather than just being a part of, and maybe you can talk about the different ones of how you can just download. You can get a free plan. You can download a quote unquote customized plan based on a few data points that you put in, and then you have other plans that are a little bit more more based on just like heart rate data and just that kind of thing. And then the final one being actually taking the plunge and having a dedicated coach.
I mean, you can do those things like the plans that you download based on heart rate. But if you don't have a coach necessarily or anyone kind of giving you feedback on what you've done, you're not going to know whether that is working until the end of the season. So say it didn't work. Then you have wasted an entire year putting in, you're still going to put in the time training. You're still going to like put the effort forth. And then you're going to realize, wow, this really isn't working for me. Whereas if you're working with a coach, the coach can pivot that plan, from week to week to make sure that you are indeed progressing and help you like not lose an entire year. And, I see people on both ends of the spectrum, like really high performers who download like a plan, just some random plan they found. Okay, I think it looks good for me. And they're exhausted. They are doing so much more work than they need to because a lot of these plans have extra built into them. And like, let's face it.
And they build the extra in because they know you're going to miss. You may miss 20% of your workout, so they build extra ones in.
Well, yeah, but not these type A people. They don't miss any of them.
Exactly.
And then they are exhausted. And totally underperforming. But they don't have anybody to look at that and say, what are you doing? Like, this is not no. And, they're training like a professional athlete, but they have a full-time job and kids.
Yeah.
And it puts a tremendous amount of stress on them mentally and physically. And it's just not healthy. Like, it takes the fun away. So I see that. And usually I get these people after they've experimented. And that's why I can speak to it, because, I'm like, well, this person should have been performing at a much higher level. They put in all the work. What happened? And I go back and I look and I talk to them and I'm like, oh, wow, this could have been prevented. Like, this didn't have to happen like this. Then I get beginners who, they download a plan and it's confusing. It's written at a much higher level than any beginner has the knowledge to comprehend. And I mean, I was that person. I looked at a book from the training Bible when I first started. I remember I looked at it and I was like, oh, now I know what I don't know. I need help. Like, there's no way I can put together a plan that is going to get me where I need to go or what I want to do from this book. I need a coach. And I mean, at the time, there weren't a lot of coaches. Like, coaching wasn't a thing. And so that's kind of around the time that I started coaching, because I thought, wow, if I'm having this problem, other people are having this problem. So, I think with the beginners, I can really keep it simple. And in general, like with my coaching, I try to keep things, like when I explain them, I try to keep things really simple, because like life is complicated enough. As long as you're doing what I know you need to do to get better, we're good. If you don't understand, like if I see somebody is just not executing, then I'm gonna like explain it in a different way. See what they can do. If they still can't do it, we're going to talk about it. Like, what do you need to be able to do this? And so like the adjustments happen immediately.
Well, and that the feedback it's personalized then, because everybody in any kind of communication, everybody communicates, not only communicates, but receives communication in certain ways. And what I mean by that is some people, you probably know, what, I really can't be swinging a hammer at this person, or because when I hit them with that hammer, it's going to crush them. Mm-hmm. There's others you're probably like, well, the only thing that gets through to them is a hammer.
Right.
And so it's important. And you just don't get those things from just an online or a very minimally invasive plan.
Yeah. I think also the one thing that I am constantly reminded of, and one of my athletes this week, she posted like a little snippet of a text that I had sent her in a conversation we were having about her run over the weekend. And I mean, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is such a great athlete. I wish she could just step back and see the athlete that she is and the athlete that she's been becoming over the last couple of years. And I said to her, you, why can't you see what I see? And I just texted her that. And that was kind of like the gist of what she put on Facebook. And I meant it, because she's a great athlete. And the text was just, I was sitting at my desk and we're kind of going back and forth. And she said, oh my gosh, this is what I needed to hear. And she said, my husband says I need to get out of my head. And I said, look, I hate to side with your husband, but he's right. And I coach her husband too. Very different relationship with her husband, because he doesn't need what she needs. Like, and sometimes they don't even get the same workouts because they don't need to be doing the same workouts all the time. Sometimes if I know they're going to work out together, I'll be like, okay, you can have the same workout, but he needs to do it at this pace and you need to do it at that pace. Yeah. And honestly, there was a time like last year where I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to start outrunning him. Like, wow, how did that happen? But my point is with that is that people need that actual caring and that personal touch and that feedback. And I look at it as a transfer of energy, like between us. And that's what you cannot, there's no price on that. And that's the time that you have, like, if I can get her to believe she is that athlete, and she is, I mean, I tell people I don't get paid enough to tell you stuff like that. and it not be true. I'm going to speak the truth. And, if somebody really just struggles, like they're going to have to work for it. But she's just a natural athlete. And so it's like being able to communicate with people, transfer that energy, and really support people at whatever level they need. That's what you get when you have a relationship with a coach. Yeah. And having a relationship with your coach, whomever your coach is, that's the most important part. If you don't have that, then it's probably time to, maybe check out some other coaches. There are coaches all over the place now.
So this is a general question, not looking for specifics of, you're going to increase your half marathon time by 15 minutes if you take on a coach. But generally speaking, what kind of results can people expect to see when they take on a coach comparative to where they are trying to do this thing alone?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I see with people is like they don't have to wonder if what they're doing is the right thing anymore. They can actually feel confident in the work that they're doing, that it's going to get them where they want to go. And, if they execute all the workouts, then they end up usually where they wanted to be, or even a little faster sometimes. They have to do the work. I have to provide the workouts. They have to do the work.
Yeah.
And then from the mental side, I can usually see like there's a point at which people just kind of shift to, if they had really poor thinking habits, after a while of me like banging it into their heads, whatever, that they're good enough or they can do it, and getting them to believe in themselves. You have that shift, and then everything kind of changes, like how they perform, how they are when they go to races. There isn't that anxiety anymore. And for people who have anxiety going into races, I think having a coach there to kind of support you and really give you a very detailed plan of, okay, on the swim, focus on X, Y, and Z. On the bike, I just want you to do this. And on the run, for you right now, all you need to worry about is, say, your cadence. Or maybe like this person always runs too fast for the first 3 miles and then dies. So, okay, your heart rate's going to be this on the first 3 miles, and then you can bump your heart rate up. Yeah. So I think when you have a coach and have that kind of consistent feedback and that trust in your relationship, that the coach is going to direct you in a way that you perform your best. I just think once people experience that, then they're like, no, I'm never doing this by myself again.
And it's harder to quit when you have a coach.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can quit, but then I'm going to come like after you.
Yeah. Well, imagine how many people have taken, they get a wild hair and they're going to start running, or they're going to start, hey, I'm going to train and do a triathlon. And they just jump into it, and one of those bad things we talked about happens.
Yep.
And they take a day off, or 2 days off, or 3 days off, and then next thing you know, they say, you know what, that was a dream of mine, but I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there to kind of kick them in the pants a little bit of, no, you can do it. Maybe we need to readjust. Let's take an easy week.
Yep.
Let's just do an easy week of training. Just I've seen it on my thing. Well, just get in the pool 30 minutes.
Yeah, Kevin, please go to the pool.
No structure. I mean, no anything. Not just get in the pool for 30 minutes, and it's that help to nudge on back down the road. So let's talk about. Do you have any examples of? And you don't even have to give names if you don't want to, but of people who maybe jumped into this and have seen just really good, and it doesn't have to just be, oh, this person is an elite performer on race day, but that where triathlon coaching or run coaching has really paid off for.
Well, I have one person right now, and I won't mention their name, but like she came to me. Good athlete, another one of my athletes
she
that
said
I coach.
I thought she was going to talk about me.
I was talking about Kevin. Yes, Kevin too, of course. Yeah. But she came with a friend, and they were both going to get coaching. They're both at different levels, but they wanted to do their biking together and, do a half Ironman. And that went really well. She did really well with all of it. She's just a good athlete. But then this year she's like, the end of the year, like I've got other goals with my run training. And I was like, okay, I'm like, let's go for it. Let's see what we can do. And I'm like, your training's going to change, like, but let's go for it. I'm like, if you're on board, this is what it's going to look like. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I thought, okay, off we go. And she started doing the workouts, and she'd like get test sets every so often, just to make sure that we were on target and things were going well. And honestly, what has been going on the last couple of months has just like blown me away. It's kind of blown her away too, beyond both of our expectations. So that's just one of those stories where, like, that's not where she started. And I have no idea where it's going to go, but wow. Like it's been fun to watch just because she is so willing to work for it, but she's had so much fun and has been so happy and excited about the success. And then, I've had people who are beginners, like learn to swim and do an Ironman. Oh my God. Like they came to me in January, couldn't swim, and then did an Ironman by the end of the year. Like that to me, and also they didn't really ride a bike. Oh my, it just blows me away because people are like, that's crazy. Like, and I said, well, depends on how hard they're willing to work. But if somebody comes to me and they're willing to work, then I suddenly like get into this new gear with them because I'm willing to work for them harder.
Yeah. And, and hit on those things to get them to where they're trying to go.
Yes.
And when you see people do that, because when people get into these kind of things, it is usually, for a lot of people, it's the first or one of the few times they're actually doing something for themselves.
Yes.
And you're able to help them reach those goals. And so before we start wrapping up and talking about triathlon news and different things out there on the spectrum, somebody's listening and they want to get in touch with you. What are the ways they can get in touch with you and find you and get information, whatever? What's the best ways to do that?
MaloneCoaching.com has a contact me section. You just click on that, sends me an email. And Facebook, Katie Malone or Malone Coaching. I get, the messages from there. Instagram, I admit I am not as good about. I am on there as Tri Coach Katie, but probably Facebook or my website. All
right. And there's going to be a lot more things coming your way, video wise and social media wise and things as she's now a part of this Do Hard Things Today community, and now a part of that. So she'll be able to get your research, and we'll include all of her information on that and in the show notes here as well. So I hear there is some interesting triathlon news going on right now. Not so good news.
Oh yeah. So for athletes who travel all over, pretty much you've got a couple of options of how you get your bike to races that are not local. You can either drive it, which is difficult sometimes. You can fly with it. Like I use a hard case box a lot of times, but the easiest way was this company called Tri-Bike Transport. You would drop your bike off at a location, they'd pick it up, and they would drive it to, like if you're going to Arizona, they would drive it out there in a tractor trailer. So all the athletes who went to Hawaii who used Tri-Bike Transport, apparently there are 180 athletes who do not have their bikes back yet because Tri-Bike Transport was not paying the shipping company. So the shipping company is holding the bikes hostage. There's now a class action lawsuit, but I know people who do not have their bikes back from Hawaii, and that was 5 or 6 weeks ago now. So,
and these are not $29.99 bikes that you get at Academy.
No, I mean, like most of because if you think about it, if you're going to Hawaii, so that was the World Championships for women
Yep.
So there are 180 women who don't have their bikes.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Jen?
No.
It's very
no.
emotional. But when your
Type
bike,
A women at that too, probably most of them.
a little bit. But when your bike is you're going to the World Championships. So let's just say everybody's got a set of race wheels on those bikes. They probably all got power meters, Di2, they're high-end bikes, so just say each bike is worth $10,000, like easy. And they've got 180 of them that they're holding hostage. And, Tri-Bike Transport, unfortunately, is probably going out of business, which I'm really sad about that because it was a great idea. It was a great service, but clearly something went really wrong somewhere. So yeah, that's kind of the big news right now in the triathlon world.
So there are to the tune of $2 million worth of
almost 2 million, and world championships, meaning people who train all the time, and they've been out without that bike for 5 weeks now.
Who are now some of them, have other races this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know one of my friends, she had to borrow a bike because her race is coming up in 2 weeks.
Nice.
And she doesn't have a bike. So she was like, I better start getting used to a different bike to race on. And so it's very frustrating. And my heart goes out to those people because it's just annoying, and it's not the way you want to end your season. And I also honestly feel kind of bad for Tri-Bike Transport because obviously something was going wrong for a while. Like that doesn't just happen overnight. And so it's just sad to see a business that really provided a great service now probably is going to be gone for good.
Well, hopefully, I said we're recording this the day before Thanksgiving, so hopefully by the time you hear this, which will probably be first week of December, hopefully they'll come to some resolution. These people have their bikes back. But
I hope so.
that's tough sledding. But so happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you to you too.
And happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I know you will be listening to this. You will have hopefully gone through the Thanksgiving feast, and now you're back to normal and training. Don't let this thing, like we talked about in a previous podcast, don't let the 30 days of holidays just beat you down and get you not only get you down in the dumps sometimes, but also you can just go overboard just eating and getting out of training and those things. So don't do that. Don't do that. And as we end every podcast, just remember this every single day during this 30 days of holidays that you're in right now when you're listening to this. Do the hard things today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.